Rosa and the rest returned from the chapel to the parlor in the mansion. Such a horrific thing had happened so early in the morning. Of course they were high-strung. Bella and George, who had cried, raged, and let their emotions explode after seeing their parents' tragic bodies, returned to the parlor, sat on the sofas, and let their minds go blank, as though everything up until then had been a lie. Only Maria was completely unchanged, and looked up just like normal. When she wasn't being mischievous, she was basically a kid who played wordlessly by herself. So even if her mind was blank, she would probably look as she did. But as she turned on the TV and flipped through the channels, it looked as though nothing about her had changed from normal. Perhaps Rosa had some opinions about this attitude, which was clearly different from normal people. She stared at Maria's back with a gaze that wasn't quite pleasant. I feel like we're being duped over here. Or maybe we will be duped. We got our first win against Beatrice, but nonetheless, the current mystery is still not solved, and something tells me Beatrice will have something up her sleeve when it comes to further discussing the first trial, like the first Twilight. One thing I want to add is that Beatrice has the ring of the headmaster that can be used to put wax on envelopes, so unless Beatrice gave the ring to someone else, she was the one that waxed the envelopes. With that being said, we know how the key was used and that those that died went through that door. Since Rosa is the only one alive at this point, and more than likely knows stuff about what happened last night and is not telling anyone, and the fact that we found her letter inside the chapel, it means that she is one to be suspected for knowing who the killer is, that's for sure. Or, at the very least that, or maybe she is the killer, who knows. Maybe she's an accomplice of the killer in the first game, or accomplice of a different killer, or she herself is the killer. Who knows. For now though, I think I'm just gonna watch some more Kojiro. Eventually, Kumasawa came to say good morning. Her cheerful manner was clearly out of place, and she couldn't help but be bewildered at the strange atmosphere in the room. Finally came to the party, eh, Kumasawa? Then, she heard the details from Goda and expressed her shock in a truly noisy manner.
もちろん警察には連絡したんですよね。こういう時はどうすればいいんでしょう。おお、どうすればいいんでしょう。
落ち着いて聞いてください。どうも昨夜の落雷で何かの機械がやられたようなのです。それで電話が使えなくなっておりまして。
じゃあ台風が過ぎるまで警察にも連絡できないんですか。
Maybe Kumasawa's exaggerated surprise was a little comical. Rosa giggled in spite of the situation. And because of that, the fog of confusion that had covered her head cleared up in a little. Ah yes. Nothing better to have than our good old Kumasawa reacting in a comical way, even though this is a serious matter.
私がしっかりしなきゃ。マリアだけじゃない。ジョージ君もバタラ君も今は私が親代わりなんだからしっかりしなきゃいけない。
Rosa had been the youngest sibling, with a large difference in age between her and the others. so she was always treated as a child. Every time she learned something new, it was something obvious to her brothers and sister, and she had grown a complex, thinking that she must be incompetent. So she had formed a passive attitude, asking her brothers and sister for advice every time something happened. But she no longer had any brothers or sisters. Now, Rosa was the only one of the 4 Ushiomiya siblings left. Furthermore, if Kinzo continued to shut himself away even in this extraordinary situation, Rosa would have to surpass this crisis as the representative of the head.
私はもう子供じゃない。子供じゃない。
Rosa slapped her knees slightly and stood up. She must not wait for orders now. She had to start moving herself. Okay, that's good. That's good. She picked up the receiver to the extension phone to the side table. And then she immediately remembered that the telephones were out of order. Genji and Shan, who she had sent to see Kinzo, hadn't returned yet. She had a general guess. He was probably yelling about something nonsensical again, and they were unable to calm him. His important chapel had been defiled with blood. That was easy to imagine. She had planned on using the extension phone to call the study, but with the telephone line dead, there was nothing else for it. Rosa decided to go to the study directly, with her own 2 feet. Her old self would have been so frightened that she wouldn't have been able to go to see Kinzo. In fact, if she did meet him, she would probably be blamed for something and abused. But now wasn't the time to be frightened. As his true daughter, she had to make him aware of the current situation.
熊沢さん、私はお父様のところへ行ってきます。特にジョージ君とバタラ君の2人をお願いします。
Oh my.
きっとだいぶ神経が参ってると思うの。
ええ、それはそうでございましょうとも。本当にお気の毒なことです。何か温かい飲み物でも作ってあげることにいたします。
ありがとう。
Rosa went out in the hallway and headed towards Kinzo's study. The atmosphere in the mansion, which she had spent her younger days in and should have been full of memories, seemed somehow different. And she began to climb the stairs in the entrance hall. Climbing the stairs she is. To see Kinzo she dreads. Just then, in the gloom down the stairs behind Rosa, something glowed. It was a single fluttering gold butterfly. It fluttered around and sparkled. That butterfly quietly danced without a sound. Obviously, no one can hear the sound of a butterfly's wings beating. And then, it stopped on Rosa's back as she slowly climbed the stairs. Rosa didn't notice, and to an ignorant observer, it would probably have looked just as though a single sheet of gold leaf in the shape of a butterfly had gotten stuck there. Without noticing, Rosa continued heading into Kinzo's study.
さーて、次はどう遊ばせてもらおうか。まだまだ駒はいくらでもある。
In the parlor, which I returned to silence, the only sound was that of the TV, which Maria was watching alone. If there was anything audible other than that, it was the sound of the rain which had continued on and on since last night. Every one of those people who had viewed that unearthly and horrible scene stayed silent, as though praying that the events of this morning were all a dream. Only Kumasawa hadn't seen it, and so acted slightly different. She instead found this silence difficult to bear, and was fidgety with the desire to cheer everyone up. However, unable to say more than she should. It seemed she was racking her brains as to how she could be of some use. Normally, it would be time for breakfast. However, maybe because something like that had happened, Gala seemed to have forgotten about preparing a meal. No. Maybe everyone was so beaten up that they had forgotten their hunger. Kumasawa wanted to bring up the subject of what they would do for breakfast, but it didn't seem like the right atmosphere, so she really couldn't. It was difficult being hungry, so she casually made a proposal.
皆さんもいろいろあってお疲れでしょ。こういう時は温かい紅茶で体を温めるのが一番ですよ。
それはいい提案ですな。私も賛成です。
美味しい紅茶にジャムを塗ったビスケットなどいかがですか。そうそう、ハロウィンの時期が近いみたいで、かぼちゃ型の美味しそうなクッキーが棚にありました。
Oh, jolly. I sure didn't have enough of that with the last Halloween party.
あ、熊沢さん、それは。
Of course, she had said the wrong thing. Because she had reminded Battler and the rest about the horrible and tragic Halloween party in the chapel. Oof. Like, I know that Kumasawa tried her best. And she did, but she didn't think about that. Nah. Nanjo hurriedly whispered into Kumasawa's ear.
バトラさん、本当にすみません。悪気はなかったんですよ。
いや、気にしてねえぜ。この煮えくり返るような怒りは。絶対犯人にお返ししてやるぜ。
その犯人はまだこの島にいるのかな。
いるだろうな。何しろ台風が過ぎるまで船は来ないんだ。
そうですとも。船はちょっとの風でも欠航しますからね。ましてや台風では絶対に船になんか乗れませんよ。
気持ち悪いな。
兄貴もそう思うのか。俺もだぜ。犯人が例の謎の来客かどうかは捨ておいてもだ。
そうですな。私たちはついついベアトリーチェを名乗る謎の来客を怪しがってしまいますが、まだ犯人と決まったわけではありません。彼女がまだ死体の出ていない犠牲者である可能性も残っている。
I wish.
それを考えるとどうしても理解できないことがあるんだ。
それはどういうことでしょうか。
簡単さ。さっき熊沢のばあちゃんの言った通りだよ。この島は今台風の真っ只中で脱出不能だ。それは犯人だって同じさ。なら犯人にとって犯行発覚は可能なら最も避けたいことのはずだ。
そうですね。礼拝堂の入り口にあんな不気味な魔法陣を書いて、ここに死体がありますなどとアピールする必要はありませんね。
そうさ、そういうことなんだ。さらに言えばあの6人にあんなむごたらしいことをするだけの手間をかけられたなら、6人の死体を発見不能な場所に隠すことだって可能だったはず。
同感だね。あの残酷なハロウィンパーティーは多分死んだ人たちに向けられたものじゃない。やがて発見する僕たちへ向けたものなんだよ。魔法陣はそのためのアピールだと言い切れるだろうね。
犯人はこの島からしばらく逃げられないことを知っている。にもかかわらず台風の真っ最中に死体を見つけさせたいような真似をした。こりゃどういうことなんだ。俺が犯人だったなら 死体を見つけさせるような真似は絶対にしないんだが。
ベアトリーチェ様はお部屋におられませんでした。特に部屋が荒らされていた様子もありませんし。ああ、いえ、お嬢様がだいぶ荒らしてしまいましたが。
そういや、ジェシカは
I guess this is something to point out. If this was all done by Beatrice, she would tell us of the location of the bodies and display it like this, but if we're talking about a human killer, why do they need to display it in the first place? I'm sure this is something that I discussed many times before, in the first game and all. Like the message in the dining hall that Shanna found that said the word chapel and all. If it's a human killer, why display it when they could just let them be hidden, and then continue with the other Twilights and fulfill the epitaph? I guess now I can see a better picture of the entire thing, in the sense that someone either is helping Beatrice with the first Twilight so that she can collect her interest, which can be one of like any of the 18 people on this island who would help Beatrice, minus Shannon and Kanon. Or, in this game, it can be Shannon or Kanon who would want to reach the Golden Land to increase their chances of survival till the end. In the last game, I was thinking of the possibility that either Shannon or Kanon were the murderers of the first Twilight. That maybe one of them was the key of the epitaph, but it was very confusing. But now in this game, since Shannon did not die, it feels easier to imagine that, even if both of them do not like Beatrice whatsoever, they would follow the epitaph in order to reach the Golden Land.
カノンさんが様子を見てくれています。多分お嬢様のお部屋におられるでしょう。
よくないね。犯人は間違いなくまだこの島にいる。今の状況下で少人数で孤立することはそれほどいいことだとは思わない。
それはどういう意味ですか？まさか犯人は私たち全員を殺すつもりだとおっしゃるんですか？
And then the killer is gonna force us to have tea parties. Tea parties! に
落ち着きましょう。まだそうと決まったわけではありません。
ところが悔しいことに、その可能性も否定できねえんだよな。この手紙が礼拝堂にあった。これによるならば、犯人は魔女様で、じい様の碑文の謎を解いて黄金を見つけなきゃ一族老頭を皆殺しにするみてえなことを言っている。
それは本当ですか？私にも読ませていただいてよろしいですか？
Wait. As they read the witch's letter, Goda, Kumasawa, and Nanja's faces grew even paler than they had been. Kumasawa could no longer hide her shaking.
死にたくなかったら、じい様の隠し黄金を見つけてみろか。ふざけやがって。てめえじゃ解けない謎だから、俺たちに解かせようって腹に決まってるぜ。
しかし実際のところはどうなんでしょう。奥様は常々黄金伝説は親方様が作られた幻想に過ぎないと言い切られておりました。本当に実在するものなのかは怪しいところですよ。
そうですな。あったらいいなとは思いつつ半信半疑だったはずです。親族の皆さんが黄金伝説を信じ始めたのは金蔵さんが健康を崩して遺産問題が浮上してからです。それまでは信じている人はほとんどいなかったと思います。
そうか、それでかな。覚えてるかい？礼拝堂のテーブルの上、黄金のインゴットが3つあったね。あれだけでも相当の価値があるよ。あれはまさに黄金伝説は実在することを証明してるんじゃないかな。
お待ちください。今黄金が3つとおっしゃいましたか？
ああ、確かに3つが積み上げてあったぜ。それが何だってんだ？
私、旦那様がお話になっているのを聞いたことがあるんです。
何？ You don't say.
ええ、聞いただけでございますよ。別にこっそりお話に聞き耳を立てていたわけではございませんとも。ええ。
今は気にしないぜ。それで何だってんだ？あの金塊が3つじゃ何かまずいってのか？
ええ、旦那様がおっしゃるには、黄金伝説を裏付ける黄金は一つしか見つかっていないのだそうです。
そうでしたな。確か金蔵さんがマルソーの会長さんに黄金の山を見せて、その一本を持ち帰らせたというような話だったはずです。
その一つをですね、旦那様はお持ちになられていたのです。そしてこうもおっしゃっておりました。親方様の黄金伝説を裏付ける黄金はこれ一つしかないとも。
旦那様ってクラウスおじさんの話だよな。ってことはなんだ？じゃなくて3つ？おいおい、どこから出てきたんだよ。多すぎるぜ。
こうは考えられませんか？他の親族の方もそれぞれ見つけておられて、それを一つずつ持ち寄られたとか。
いや、私はそうは思いません。親族の皆さんがお屋敷に来られた時、私は皆さんのお荷物を預からせてもらっています。その時、不審な重さは感じませんでした。
あれは10キロくらいはあったと思う。そんな重さが荷物に入っていたら僕だって気づくよ。でもそんな雰囲気はなかった。
うちも同じだぜ。せいぜい着替えと常備薬、桐江さんの化粧道具、そんなもんだったと思う。ローザおばさんの荷物も軽そうに見えたぜ。
となるとその3つ積まれた金塊は彼らあるいは僕らに示されたものということになるね。黄金伝説は間違いなく存在する。幻想なんかじゃない。それを暴いてみろと。
それの隠し場所を示したあの碑文を私たちに解かせて横取りしようという魂胆でしょうか？
確かにそれが一番筋が通る。しかし腑に落ちない点もいくつかあるぜ。まず碑文を一番解けそうな人物である親たちが真っ先に殺されてる。これはいきなり矛盾があるように思う。そしてここがもっと腑に落ちない。黄金伝説は実在するって言ってどうして黄金が積めるんだ？まるで犯人はもう自分だけは黄金を見つけていて、お前らも見つけてみろって言ってるみたいに見えるじゃないか。
Nah, I'm having my doubts. If any of the 18 people found that gold, then it would be game over for Beatrice. She would have to surrender and leave us the fuck alone in that case. So, if it's one of the 18 people, it would have to be Kinzo because he knows the location of the gold, so he technically doesn't count. Or it is Beatrice, who definitely knows where it is.
犯人もクラウスおじさんのようにその3本を手に入れ黄金伝説を確信し、 残りを僕らに探させようとしていると考えるのが一番しっくりくるね。
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. If we're talking about that possibility that it is one of the 18 people minus Kinzo and Beatrice. Maybe Kinzo gave more gold to important people, and someone else besides Kraus managed to get them. So yeah, I guess we're back to it being anyone. Minus Maria, because I doubt that she will be able to do something like that alone.
チェス盤に駒がちっとも並ばねえ。犯人が何を企んでいて、何をしたいのか、何をさせたいのかがさっぱりだ。無駄なのか。何を考えても今の時点では。
書いてあるよ。何をさせたいかは。みんなは文字読めないのかな。
Maria suddenly left in a creepy voice. I thought she'd been concentrating on the TV, but she'd be listening in too, apparently. As she remained facing the TV, she very simply told us what we were forgetting.
ベアトリーチェは黄金が欲しいなんて一言も言ってないよ。ベアトリーチェは碑文の謎をみんなが解けるか解けないか、それしか聞いてないんだよ。どうせ無理だろうって思ってるに違いないけどね。
マリアにはそれが解けるってのか。
知らない。だってマリアは黄金鏡へ連れてってもらうんだもん。ベアトリーチェの邪魔なんかしないよ。
But what if you won't survive till the end, and you will be dead because of the twilight? In which case, you won't reach the Golden Land. Hell, as I said before, am I really supposed to believe that the Golden Land is even a real thing? And a back.
どうやらこれ以上を知るにはマリアに話を聞くほかないようだな。マリア、聞かせてもらうぜ。ベアトリーチェってのは何者だ。何を企んでるんだ。
ベアトリーチェはね、魔女なの。不思議な力で何でもできる。魔法の力で何でもできる。黄金も生み出せるし、パンも生み出せる。もちろんお菓子だって生み出せるよ。見たでしょ。
At that time, everyone jumped at the sound of a door being closed forcefully. We turned around to find that at some point Rosa had returned, bringing Eiji and Shannon. Then, she rapidly approached Maria, her heels clacking, and hit her sharply on the cheek. Here we go again. Don't mind me, Maria, just gonna take the remote away from you and watch some more Jackie Chan movies on the television.
そんな話はやめなさい。バトラ君たちが気を悪くするでしょ。
Without waiting for a response, she slapped Maria's cheek once more. Everyone could only stand there, shocked.
ではわからないわよ。はいわ。
She mercifully slapped Maria's cheek again. Maybe she didn't feel like resisting after being hit twice. Maria weakly said yes.
ローザさん、そこまでひどくすることはない。
娘に対する教育です。口は挟まないでいただきます。
The atmosphere around Rosa, with Genji and Shano in tow, was somehow cold, and yet dignified. Completely different from how she seemed before she left. We saw that Auntie Rosa was holding something that looked like a gun. Wait, what? I couldn't imagine that she would have brought back a toy in this situation. Wait, what?
ローザおばさん、それは。
お父様のものです。
Ugh. For Pete's sake. I wondered if every parent is gonna end up wielding that gun eventually.
このような事態ですので、特別に借りてきました。みんなだって分かってるはず。犯人はまだ近くにいるのですから。何があるか分からない。
同感です。犯人が何を企んでいるかを探るよりも、僕たちは身の安全を先に考えた方がいいかもしれない。
お父様はご無事でしたが、突然の出来事に多少取り乱していました。幸いにも部屋からは出ないと言っていますので安全でしょう。
Was considerably shaken, you say?
あと、私たちは極力同じ場所に集まるべきです。
同感だぜ。相手がどこに潜んでいるのかもわからねえし、何しろ一人という保証もねえんだ。
I shivered at the words that had come out of my mouth. That's right. Could a single person kill 6 people and create such a horrible scene all alone? Isn't it natural to assume that this crime was carried out by multiple culprits?
ローザさんに同感です。私たちは一ところに集まるのがいいでしょうな。
ええ、私もそれが良いと思いますよ。
お嬢様たちももうそろそろこちらへお呼びした方がいいかもしれません。
そうだね。もう降りてきてもらおう。
Jojaniki made to grab the extension phone, but Goda-san shook his head. Alright, we cannot use the phones right now.
俺と何人かで行ってこよう。ジョージの兄貴にゴーダさんも来てくれれば十分だろ。
Yeah, might as well. As long as we stick together, we should be fine.
いいえ、みんなで一緒に行きましょう。狼と羊のパズルなのよ。私たちがここに揃い安定しているなら、この状態が一番安全。
Wolves and sheep puzzle?
狼と羊のパズル？
おお、マリア持ってるよ。見せてあげる。
マリア、テレビを消しなさい。源氏さん、ジェシカちゃんの部屋を教えてください。みんなで行きましょう。
はい、ご案内いたします。
さあみんな、一緒に行動するわよ。私の指示に従って。
We stood up. Maria alone looked like she had some lingering attachment to the TV. But she went along with everyone for now and got up.
シャノン、よかった。戻りが遅いから少し心配してたよ。
ご心配をおかけしました。親方様より筆行のご命令があったもので。
筆行？
シャノン。
すみません、失礼しました。
We headed for Jessica's room, led by Genji and Auntie Rosa holding the gun. Jessica and Kanon-kun are a girl and a boy of about the same age. That'd sure be a shame if we walked in on them at a bad time. It's what I'd have joked about normally. I'm sure. However, Auntie Rosa was on edge, constantly exuding tension. So he really wasn't the kind of atmosphere where I could joke like that.
ほら、遅れないで。みんな一緒に行動するの。犯人はいつどこから飛びかかってくるかわからないのよ。
Hey! No, maybe Auntie Rosa's attitude was more appropriate. Since grandfather hadn't come down, Auntie Rosa was the leader. This wasn't a situation where she could smile like she always did. And Auntie Rosa was herself a mother. She probably also thought that, if she didn't get a hold of herself, some harm might befall her beloved daughter. The couple had killed 6 of our parents at once. The method they had used was unknown. but there was a good chance that this opponent could take down a large number of people in an instant. Was that with weapons, or with numbers? Or was it the magic of a witch? In any case, it definitely didn't look like there were any factors indicating we could get careless. The rest of us should also take much greater care, like Auntie Rosa. Duck and cover! Auntie Rosa spoke in a sharp voice. When we peered forwards, wondering what was up, we immediately noticed the reason. Exquisite artistry. I mean, ooh!
皆様、お下がりを。
Okada-san and Gigi-san approached the door. Jessica's room was probably on the other side of that door.
これは礼拝堂の扉に落書きしていたのと同じ塗料のようですね。
そのようです。書かれてまだ時間がそう経っていないように見えます。
なんだありゃ。また魔法陣かよ。
月の1の魔法陣だね。赤の扉を開く力があるよ。
The door to Jessica's room had that creepy graffiti on which had been drawn at the door to the chapel. That strange shape definitely had some meaning related to the cult. But it didn't matter what that meaning was. We were more worried about whether those two were alright.
そんなことはどうでもいいよ。ジェシカちゃんとカノン君は無事なの？
嫌な予感がしますな。早くジェシカさんたちを連れて下に降りましょう。
お嬢様、お嬢様、おられますか？お返事をお願いします。
Okada-san knocked violently and yelled, but there was no answer. He twisted the doorknob with a clatter, but the lock just resisted him.
ローザ様、鍵がかかっているようです。
仕方ないわ。開けてください。
Genji nodded, and Goda quickly unlocked the door with the master key. In the back of my mind, horrible images floated up and disappeared, one after another. A magic circle had been drawn on the door to the chapel, and 6 corpses had been behind that. So, if there was a magic circle drawn at the door to Jessica's room, then beyond it.
ジェシカ様！
どうしたの？いたの？
ジェシカ、どうした？
He was truly heartless. The expression on Goda-san's face and what he said when he opened the door prepared us for the brutal fate that Jessica might have meant, even without seeing her. Everyone tumbled into Jessica's room at once. That scene told everyone that their worst fears were right on the mark.
Jessica!
なんてこと。南條先生！
The room seemed elegant for Jessica's age. And there she was inside it, lying on the ground. There was a large pool of blood on the floor, and there was a knife or something sticking deep into her back. Was it a knife? There was a design in the handle that had to have been done in a There was a design in the handle that had to have been done in the devil motive. There was no doubt that this weapon carried some kind of occult meaning.
これはひどい。
Ah, you poor thing.
お亡くなりになっています。これは多分肺まで届いてるでしょうな。死んでからそう時間は経っていません。
ジェシカー！くそ！くそー！
バトラ様。
甘かった。分かってた。島からは逃げられない以上、犯人は必ず近くにいたんだ。 ならどうしてすぐに警戒しなかったんだ。甘えてた。犯人ってやつは罪を犯したらこそこそと逃げて隠れてるもんだと思い込んでた。
あの時の僕たちは動転してた。ジェシカちゃんが怒りに身を任せて駆け出すのも仕方がないことだと思ってた。でも甘かったんだ。止めるべきだった。
幸田さん、どうしてジェシカちゃんたちを放ってきちゃったの？あなたが一緒にいてくれたらこんなことには。
いえ、それはその。
Alright, well let's not pin the blame on Koda like that, alright?
私は危険ですから戻りましょうと言いました。ただそのお嬢様は一人になりたいと申しまして、カノンさんが自分に任せてほしいと言いまして、それを言ったらカノンさんはどこへ。
そうだ、カノン君は一体。
And that is what I'm wondering as well. Found her own room in the mansion, with a weapon shaped like a stake having been rammed into her back. At the very end, she got to be with the person she loved. She must have been happy. Missing. The Witcher raised his corpse for fun, and that alone threw them into chaos. If the human world is what is, then what is not is undoubtedly fantasy. Fantasy depicts what they themselves fear.
カノン君、どこに。
カノンさんはお嬢様と一緒にいたはずです。一体どこに。
まさかやられたんじゃないだろうな。
静かに。この部屋に誰か隠れているかもしれない。ベッドの下やクローゼットなどを探して。
There was also a chance that Kanon-kun's corpse had been pushed away somewhere. At Rosa-san's order, everyone searched the room together, but there wasn't a single human hiding anywhere.
どこにもないぜ。まさか犯人に連れ出されたか。なら早く探し出して助けないと。もたもたしてるとヤバいことになるかもしれねえぞ。ローザおばさん、屋敷内を捜索しよう。犯人を探そう。カノン君を助け出そう。
静かに。
Auntie Rosa yelled at us loudly, and we fell instantly silent. She was probably contemplating something, but what could that be? Auntie Rosa walked around the room as though looking for something, or as though she was collecting her thoughts. Then, she found something on the side table by the bed, and picked it up.
誰かわかる人、教えて。これは何の鍵かしら。
Auntie Rosa showed everyone a key with a cute mascot attached to it. Judging from its cute appearance, I didn't doubt that it was Jessica's key, but I had no way of knowing what key it was.
おそらくこの部屋のお嬢様のお部屋の鍵でしょう。
Probably. After hearing that, Auntie Rosa made a point of going outside the door and checking. Without a doubt, it was the key to this room.
どうしてこんなところに置いてあるのかしら。普通、大事な鍵はポケットとかにしまわないかしら。
お嬢様はご自分の部屋に施錠される習慣はあまりありませんでした。ただ学校に行かれる時だけは旦那様などに勝手に部屋を見られたくないと言って 施錠されていたようですが。
なるほど。投稿してるわけじゃないから、ジェシカちゃんがここに鍵を置くのは自然なことということね。この扉を開けられる鍵はいくつあるの？
お嬢様がお持ちの一つだけですが。
あなたたちのマスターキーでは開けられないの？
開けられます。
マスターキーは何本あるの？使用人の人は全員持ってるの？余剰分はある？
はい、私たちは全員が持っています。余剰分はどうでしょう。
以前は何本かありましたが、奥様に不用心だと強くお叱りを受けまして、対応が取られたはずです。
そうです。私たち使用人が1本ずつ持つのみです。それ以外は存在しません。
ん？ちょいと待て。確か前回のゲームじゃマスターキーには余剰分があるって話じゃなかったのか？
それについてだがな、所在不明のマスターキーが何本もあってはわらわにあまりに不利であることに気づいたのだ。
そりゃそうだろうよ。密室で俺に魔法を信じさせたいお前にとっちゃ想定外のマスターキーは非常に不利だろうよ。何しろ俺は施錠に関するトリックが登場するたびに過去に紛失したマスターキーやその複製を犯人が所持していてって論法で対抗していくつもりだったからよ。
そうよ、その通り。
Yeah. Basically getting rid of the extra useless thoughts and getting straight to the point of making us believe that it was magic.
だからそこを崩す一手を打たせてもらうことにした。設定を変更する。マスターキーは使用人たちがそれぞれ持つ一本のみ。
So there are 5 master keys. Still, that's a lot of keys that anyone can use. Either one of the servants could have opened the door, or someone else stole a servant's key to use it themselves.
ふざけやがって。それよりこりゃどういう手なんだ？ローザおばさんは何を言っているんだ？
さあな、話に耳を傾けてみるがよかろう。
ありがとう。状況が整理できたわ。そしてジェシカちゃんを襲った犯人、あるいはその一味の一人を特定できたわ。
なんだって？それは誰だよ？
まさかローザおばさんはカノン君のことを言ってるんじゃないでしょうね。
カノン君がどうしてですか？
この部屋は施錠されていたわ。そしてこの部屋に施錠できる鍵は使用人のみんなが持っているマスターキーとジェシカちゃんが持っているこの鍵しかない。でもジェシカちゃんの鍵はここに閉じ込められていた。ということは施錠できたのはマスターキーしかありえないの。
おっしゃる通りです。
となれば誰かがジェシカちゃんを殺し、そして施錠したことになる。その人物はマスターキーを持っていたわ。そしてマスターキーを持っていた人物は5人しかいない。
そんな、私ではありませんよ。私ではそんなことできません。
熊沢さんは朝が遅かった。私たちが礼拝堂から客間に戻ってきてそこで会ったわけだけど、それまでの間あなたがどこで何をしていたかは証明不能。物陰から私たちを伺っていて孤立したジェシカちゃんたちの後を追いこっそり襲いかかった。
私がお嬢様のところを訪れてこんなむごいことをしたとおっしゃるのですか。
Puppycock.
あんまりにございます。あんまりですとも。
ゴーダさんだってどうです？あなたはカノン君にジェシカちゃんを任せて帰ってきたと言ったわ。でも本当なのかしら。本当は2人を殺してカノン君の死体を隠して、それで何食わぬ顔で戻ってきたんじゃないのかしら。
そんなことはありません。
Puppycock yet again.
このゴーダ誓ってそのようなことはいたしません。
私たちでもありません。私たちは親方様のご命令で。
ええ、あなたと源氏さんについてだけは大丈夫よ。お父様から聞いた話でそれは裏付けられてる。2人はお父様の部屋でずっと筆行と立ち会いをしていた。お父様と私が保証するわ。
ありがとうございます。
こうなれば郷田さんと熊沢さんのどちらかが怪しいという論法になると思うの。私もこの部屋に入った最初はそう思った。でもね、おかしいと思ったの。ジェシカちゃんの遺体の様子を見て。みんなはおかしいと思わない？
おかしいと言われますと？
ジェシカちゃんは背中を刺されてるの。ほら、よく一般的に言うでしょ。背中を刺された事件は顔見知りが犯人の可能性が高いって。部屋に気を許せないような人を招き入れて背中を無防備にさらしたりなんか絶対にしない。
まさかローザ様はそれをカノン君だとおっしゃるんですか。
Puppycock, 3 strikes. You're out.
ええ、私たちは殺される直前のジェシカちゃんの様子をよく知ってる。
Magic. Times were easier before the Rokenjima mass murders. There was nothing too complex when it came to my love for magic. When you solve murder cases for so long and have to deal with the ugliest parts of humanity, you gotta have something that takes your mind off of it. Something that doesn't require logic and can make people happy with it. That was magic for me. That one started with the last killing game I have been a part of, and expanded further during my stay in Japanifornia. It was always a blast. It made me feel less stressed at times, even helped me with some of the internal problems that I had. And no matter what, you can count on magic to brighten someone's day. But with Beatrice's chess games, there was no place for that kind of magic. This wasn't the first time I had to disprove it. It happened before for sure. But what was eating me deep inside was that I had to actively fight against it as if it was my enemy, and, well, it was, from a certain point of view. Think of magic as, say, a bat. Its sole use is for baseball, for entertainment purposes. However, the murderer is the baseball player that killed the victim with the bat, not the bat itself. Same thing can be said with magic. However, that kind of mentality wasn't going to fly for long. Believing in magic is what would make us lose the game. It is what Beatrice wanted. After all, it is easy to say that these murders were done with spells and flying daggers, but Battler himself fights to prove that it was done through your typical murder mystery conventions because, well, how can he trust someone like Beatrice? I couldn't trust her for sure, so I was with Battler. But how can you disprove magic that was clearly shown right in front of you? I mean, I guess you could say that I managed to do that with a candy fix, but not even that works since it involves the stakes. And they are part of the magic, so yeah, even that kind of theory that I crafted before is flawed. So this whole thing is a mix between real magic and human tricks being used to kill people, right? I was definitely not on Beatrice's side, and at that point I told myself that I was on Battler's side, but was I really? Or was I on a different side, that unknown to me at the time? That was another thing I had questioned, among many of the mysteries that kept piling on more and more. The murders, the chess game, the epitaph. Although, at that point, I managed to partially crack down on the whole Monokuma incident. I did not question it that much at first, but eventually it came to me. Why did he come to Rokenjima? Maybe there was some secret motive I wasn't aware of. After all, what is well known about him? It is that he is a robot, with an AI. And despite his weird behavior, he is pretty smart. If you give him a murder case to solve, with enough evidence, he will do it in seconds. If you give him the toughest riddle in the world to solve, he will do it in seconds. With that being said, could this really be the motive? Monokuma wanted to solve the epitaph and get the gold for himself? I mean, there's plenty more to question about the incident, but one could wonder if that is even the motive. Well, the other surprise guest can surely help on that department. The time goddess herself, Misha. I have had quite a history with her. We have been friends for so long, and she has helped me in many situations. As her title suggests, she can turn back time. However, that is at the cost of money. She was always quite mischievous at times when it comes to money. However, that was also part of her charm, in my eyes. So, with all that, the motive that I imagined behind that incident back then seemed a lot clearer to me. But there is still the question of what Monokuma actually saw. He said without a shadow of a doubt that it was me. For the second game, I tried to stay awake at night yet again. Not just for the sake of the first Twilight, but to also figure out who it was that Monokuma saw. But yet again, something pulled me back to sleep like last game. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Whoever is doing this, whether it is Beatrice or some unknown entity, doesn't want me to peek behind the curtains. I mean, if I were able to, I would have been able to solve many things, I bet. But, no. These chessboard games were built to screw with me, in ways that, at the time, I didn't think were possible. As I mentioned right at the beginning, some would say that I've seen it all, but the insanity that I've witnessed by that point, and what will follow next, was something I didn't think I would ever experience. And yet, I did.